Hey, thanks for tuning in. I wanted to make a video explaining why I'm not a minimalist and why I'm not very big on that term. I do want to start off by saying that everyone should know how to be a minimalist, but I think that to be a true minimalist actually is to not be an optimalist, if that makes any sense, okay? I think everyone should be an optimalist. Here's the deal. There's a lot of people out there that they have this idea that you should only carry one tool. You should only have a knife, okay? And they'll try to make their knives, like, they'll design them to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, they'll put saw teeth back here. They'll mess with the shape so they get, like different degrees of cutting surfaces, and maybe it's a little more heavier up front for chopping, things like that. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I just don't think it's optimal, okay? If you get a knife that is a jack of all trades, oftentimes it's a master of zero trades. And if you think about it, carrying two things like this is not going to burn so many calories that I'm going to die, okay? If you are walking out into the woods and carrying this combo here is enough to kill you, then you don't need to be out surviving. Like, you need to learn more, okay? Knives, by like the nature of how they are, they're very good at stabbing, and they're generally very good at slicing and doing some carving, okay? They are not always meant to take, we'll pretend this is a big log. They're not always meant to take a big log like this, put it on top, and then hammer up here so it splits it, okay? Things that excel at splitting are hatchets, or certain tomahawks. Now, this tomahawk here is not always the best at splitting, and you can see that it's got a kind of the shape of the tomahawk head and the grind doesn't always lend itself to splitting well. This thing bites pretty deep, and I've got kind of a different style of doing stuff, so I like stuff that is heavy, that bites deep, and that has a hammer on the back. That's the other thing. A lot of knives are not good for hammering. Like, people will take their knives and they'll go, hey, it's got this cool little butt cap here, or a pommel. I'm going to go ahead and smash stuff with that. Okay, well, when you do that, especially if it's on a knife like this and it's not full tang, you're going to weaken that tang over time. All that stress that you're hitting with down here is it's going to travel through that pin there. It's going to start weakening stuff up, okay, and it's going to mess the handle up. There are different knives out there that are more of a true full tang knife, and your knife tang is also going to dictate more of what you can safely do or safely get away with over time, as over a prolonged period of time. But it's still not optimal. This is not an optimal chopping tool, okay? If you watch a lot of knife fighting manuals with a knife about this size, I have never seen a knife fighting manual that says, yeah, just chop their head off. Because people know that by nature, this is not a chopping tool. If it's not going to chop off a human head, it's probably not wise to take it and baton through a huge log with it. And I see a lot of guys doing that. They get these sharpened pry bars, and they just baton away, and it takes a ton of energy. Like, you don't have to baton everything. Get an actual chopping tool to do some of your chopping. A lot of times they come with a hammer on the back. Now you're able to save the back of your knife there. You're able to save the handle and everything, and use something that's designed for chopping to chop, okay? You can slice with this. You can do some planing with this. You can do some carving with this. Like, yeah, it will do some stuff, but it's not always optimal, okay? So I like to be an optimalist, all right? Let me go ahead and put some of this away here. I think that if you're going to get into survival, one of the things you need to do is start working to be in shape. Because a lot of times when I'm out surviving, I have people with me. I don't think I've told this story on here before, but a few years ago, actually my daughter's here. Katana, come on over here real quick. So, go ahead and make it where you can see you in the camera here. Okay. Hey, do you remember when we got stuck outside when we were helping out that sled dog marathon?
Yeah.
They left us out there for a long time, didn't they?
Yep.
What were the conditions like?
Probably below 0.
It was pretty cold out there, right? Pretty deep snow. You could hear the wolves howling and stuff like that. So, I wasn't just out there processing wood for me. I was processing wood for her little brother, and this 21-year-old highly functioning autistic woman. And The autistic woman was part of like Civil Air Patrol, and she was able to work with knives and stuff. So I gave her a tool, showed her how to safely use it, and I gave her a job. And what that did was that made it where I wasn't burning as many calories. It made it where she was burning some calories enough to stay warm. And what we were getting out of it was more wood for our fire to keep us warm. Okay, we had enough food where we could have lasted a while. We would have been hungry, but we would have been okay. But at that moment, the most important thing was getting wood for the fire, you know, or being able to build a shelter. That's the other thing. Like, I could build a cabin with this. This is not ideal for building a cabin, okay? And I understand that this is more of a fighting knife than a survival knife. But even so, this knife is not much bigger than most of the survival knives that are out there. A lot of times when you see a survival knife out there, they start off around 5 inches. They go on up to like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 inches. But this tends to be a common size, okay? And they may design the blade a little bit different, make it a little bit thicker, but this is pretty much what you're going to see in the hands of people, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I use for going out in the woods. Okay, a lot of hunters have a knife that's about this size. This doesn't excel at making structures like this, okay? This, I can chop stuff, I can stick it into the log, drag the log with it. It makes a handle as well. I can pound nails in. Maybe I'm, you know, backwoods Alaska or something. We like watching those shows, right?
Yep.
You know, maybe I got some nails with me. They're in my sled that my dogs are pulling. I can use that right there to pound those nails in. But if I was a minimalist, that wouldn't be the case. And some people will say, well, you'll be perfectly warm in a brush hut and all that stuff. Let me see if I got you, sweetheart. Thank you for your help. You're not going to be as warm most of the time in a brush hut as you are in a well-constructed, well-architected shelter. This does more, okay, than just a little knife does. It's got different capabilities. You're able to really lace into it. But you don't have to just take this. The combination is awesome, okay? Not only do I have tools I can make traps with, I can process wood with, I can skin animals with, I can fight with this. Okay, that's the other thing, is this is actually a pretty cool combo for fighting. I can hook, I can chop, slice, I can grapple with this, smash, you know, smash skulls in, hook rifles with it, I can cut, stab, slash, like, I can fight with this, and I can use this as tools for surviving, okay? When you're a minimalist, if this is all you have and you're in a situation where you have to fight for your life, this is not the most optimal thing to have against somebody who has this. And these really don't weigh that much. Like I said, if you can't take these two things into the woods and use them to help you survive, like, you need to do some more learning. They're not that heavy. You know, you should, if you're into survival, work to be in shape. I run 11 miles once a week, you know, if I can. I run 4 miles twice a week. I bench press over 300 pounds. You know, I'm a pretty active guy. I do hop keto and jiu-jitsu. Like, I do that because if I'm stuck out someplace like this, I like to carry a lot of stuff in my pack. And a lot of people will say, well, that's not very survivally. Look, if I don't have to go get it, that is saving calories, okay? Sometimes it's easier to haul what you need with you. Another thing is, there's a saying, it goes, we say this in the Marines, pack light, freeze at night, all right? So that's another reason why I'm part of being an optimalist. If I can carry everything I need with me, I'm not leaving as many tracks, I'm not disturbing the environment. Sometimes I can carry all the food I need, and it's easier that way. It burns less calories than it would take for me to go out, stalk a buck, stalk a big doe, stalk an elk, stalk a bear, shoot the bear, track the thing after I shoot it, gut it, process it, drag it all the way back. You know, like, that burns calories too. Granted, you are getting a lot of food out of it, but you still have to do a lot to get it, and then you may not have the means to preserve it like you want, okay? That's another thing. If you don't know how to preserve it, sometimes it's better to just take the food, put it on your back, you know, take it with you when you're going into the woods. So I am not a minimalist because I believe in being an optimalist, and I hope that makes sense. All right, as always, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate all your support. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to hit the like button. You know, I like it when everyone chimes in. I hope this helps. As always, Semper Fi, and God bless.